In this video, I'm going to show you the latest in Pokermetrics. Pokermetrics was released about 6 months ago. I've been working on it for about a total of a year, and we've made a lot of changes to the program and how the information is presented. First, what I've done is tried to group the information so it's much easier to interpret. In each grouping, we have the first line, which is the overall line. In this case, it's under the gun first to open. And then this dark brown line marks the end of this grouping, and then as you go through this grouping, you can see all the different hand ranges. Next, and quite importantly, we've added something new called the impact factor. When I initially released Pokermetrics, there was no impact factor or difference factor or anything like that. You just had to interpret the numbers on your own. Based upon some great client feedback, we were able to first develop what was called the difference factor, which just took into account your frequency and profit versus the frequency and profit of the winning reg group. Now we've added in a couple more factors. The first factor is profit and sample sizes. This is critical in identifying spots that are high profit, high frequency spots, so you can focus your attention on those spots that are going to have the greatest impact on your win rate. Lastly, the impact factor also includes the alternative. Now, in first to open, there's no alternative, but for example, let's take light 3-bet defense. The alternative there is to fold. So for all the times that you didn't 3-bet or 4-bet bluff, those were a fold, and so that loss is taken into account. Before, with the difference factor, we were getting some false positives. Guys were having very low 3-bet defenses, high profits, and it made that spot look okay. You were getting a nice positive purple number. Now with the difference factor, that helps eliminate a number of those false positives, because the 65-70% of the time that you were folding and taking that loss folding is now counted in there. Now we can still sometimes get false positives when your win rate is especially high in that spot, but we've gotten rid of most of them. For those of you looking at the Pokermetrics report for the first time, what we have here is we have your numbers in the 3 left columns: your frequency, your profit, your win rate, and then we have a group of winning regs. These are my hands and hands from a group of strong winning players for a total database of over 2 million hands. I keep the hands up to date. My goal is to never have hands older than a year, and I try to update this database every 6 months. Having this winning reg group to compare your game to is quite valuable. In a lot of spots, you're not going to have a good sample size. Your results are going to be borderline, and then you can look to the winning reg group to see what they're doing. Something I just started doing with the report is I started adding in notes, which we can see here. I'm just starting this. It'll probably take me the rest of the year before I'm even close to being finished with this. But what I'm doing is I'm just adding in general thoughts about this particular spot to help you better evaluate the report on your own. As you can see, I go through excruciating detail in each spot, and it should be noted that what we're looking at here is the full report for what you need a minimum of 175,000 hands. For the smaller report, the 100K hand report, what I've done is I've collapsed certain spots and certain hand ranges. For example, under the gun and under the gun +1 have been combined, since they do play very similarly, and a number of the hand ranges have also been combined. With a 100K hand database, you simply don't have enough hands to break down your database this far. We go through all the different opening positions, all the different hand ranges, and then we go next to an isolating limper section, then a big section where you can compare your cold calling game versus your 3-betting game. I've done this side by side so we can take the identical range and position and look at your frequency and win rate with different hand ranges. When we start getting into button, we look at button versus EP, MP, button versus cutoff. When we get to the blinds, we drop. Well, we'll just look at the big blind. We'll look at the big blind versus EP, MP, big blind versus cutoff, big blind versus button, and then big blind versus small blind. It breaks down all the position versus position spots by hand range, both by 3-bet and by cold call. By the time you're done with this section, you should have a very good idea of what line first is profitable, and secondly, at least for your hand sample size, what's been working better. Has a cold call with this hand range worked better than a 3-bet? And of course, you can compare all your results to the winning reg group. Even with 250,000 hand databases, we still run into sample size issues in some spots. We have a brand new area which is defense against the men open, which I think is very important. Most players are folding way too often against a button or small blind men open. This will evaluate your play. Now, a lot of you guys just aren't defending light very wide in the spot, but this will help show you that having a wide defense range is possible. You can see here, this is this is the winning reg group defending with light and air hands against the men open, and they do much, much better than folding by a big degree. And it just shows that a wide defense range against men opens is going to be very profitable for your game. Next, a large facing 3-bet section, starting with you folding versus a 3-bet, how often you're being 3-bet, your total 4-bet, 4-bet with value, 4-bet bluff, called instead of 4-bet value hands, called these second-tier value hands, and then total called non-premium hands, which excludes these value hands. Then we start breaking things down by position. Non-premium hands out of position, non-premium hands in position, second-tier value hands out of position, in position, pocket pairs in position, out of position. Just breaks down your game in every way possible. And then we have some 5-betting stuff. The last section in pre-flop is a squeeze section in which we compare your squeeze game to your cold call game. High value hands, second tier hands, marginal hands, and then other hands. And it shows you how frequent you're squeezing with those hands and your results. And just like the cold call versus 3-bet section, shows you which line is yielding a better profit. I go into similar detail on the flop, turn, and river, although not nearly as many spots, simply because there aren't as many spots to evaluate, and we start running into sample size issues, especially on the turn and river. This is something new I've been working on called the red line report. It's still really in beta. I've been working on it for, 3 or 4 months. I still have a couple more months of work left to do before I'm really happy with this. This report will tell you where you should focus your attention on the Pokermetrics report. Is it showdown pots? Is it non-showdown pots? Now, this particular player has really good results. His showdown win rate impact is basically 0. Now, showdown win rate impact is your win rate compared to the group of winning regs. So this tells you how far off you are from them. He's pretty close. His showdown win rate is basically right on. He's losing about 3 big blinds of win rate in non-showdown part. Certainly room for improvement, but closer than most players. So when he goes through his Pokermetrics report, he should be focused on non-showdown spots. And what I've done is I've broken down your game in just every way I can think of. We start with pre-flop, and then we move on with flop. First off, we deal with seeing the flop, limped pots, seeing the flop as a pre-flop opener, seeing the flop heads up as a pre-flop caller, multi-way, seeing the flop as the pre-flop 3-better, as the 3-bet caller, and then raise pots. Once again, I've gone into excruciating detail. I've probably, in this report, gone into too much detail, and I'll likely pare it down at some point. The point I'm at right now is I'm just trying to put together a report that I can figure out what I want to see in it and how I can interpret it. Like I said, right now I'm including it for free with Pokermetrics reports. First off, it's just nice to give you guys something for free. I wouldn't mind hearing feedback, but most of all, I'm just doing it for my own education, looking at players individually, looking at their game, and trying to draw connections between their showdown, non-showdown results and their Pokermetrics reports, and hopefully by the time I'm done with this, which who knows how long it's going to take. Hopefully by the time I'm done with this, I'll be able to draw some strong and direct links between specific spots in your game and your showdown and non-showdown winnings. At this point, you should have a pretty good idea of what the red line report and Pokermetrics will do for your game. And universally, every one of my customers has been extremely happy, many of them returning for a second review. Thanks for listening, and good luck at the tables.